Hello and welcome to another episode of the Choose Strong podcast. If you are watching this from YouTube, we want to welcome you. Eddie and I are especially excited because we have our daughter, Makenzie McCrae, with us. Makenzie, go ahead and say hello to everyone.
Hello.
Nice, Kens.
That was a great intro, sweetheart. We are coming fresh off of Western States, and as you have already read, the title of this podcast is All Things Western States. So we're going to dive into the race recap, some takeaways from the race, some beautiful memories that we made in the race, and some extras. I mean, we have Makenzie here. This is such a treat, Ed.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you for being here, Makenzie. We want to just take a minute and welcome everybody who has just started their run, who has just started racing, and those of you that have just walked into the gym to get some work done. Now, we are always so proud of you when you show up each day, whether that's training or racing, and we just love being along for the ride. So thank you for taking us with you. Also, big shout out to our youth listeners. This is super fun for our youth because they see someone that's as young as them. If you're watching from YouTube, Makenzie's in your corner, although she's 18 now, so she's officially adult. But mom and dad still consider her a kid as long as she's living under this roof. Or maybe it's us, Eddie, just kind of like holding on as long as we can, wanting her to be a kid.
That's definitely it. That's definitely it.
So hello, youth listeners. If you're watching this in the summertime, we hope you're having a wonderful summer. We're always cheering for you, and we are so glad that you are here. Eddie, do you want to start us off with a couple reviews? I know today's podcast, we have a lot to dive into. Anything that you want to share?
You know what? I am not going to share any reviews. I'm going to simply highlight a couple people that are doing the work, that are putting in the time, and I got all three of these from Strava. So,
oh, nice.
Yes. By the way, if you are not in the Choose Strong Strava group, you need to get yourself in that group. There is a lot going on in that group, a lot of accountability, a lot of massive kudos going on in there. So,
well, Eddie, hold on a minute. Okay. You are sitting next to your daughter, who is also on Strava, and I'd have to say it's weekly banter in the house between you two about Strava titles, how many kudos, the pictures. Makenzie, your dad has been moving up in the ranks on Strava, giving lots of kudos right and left. But lately, he's been getting lots of kudos just for, going on 0.13 mile walks.
0.14, but we're not counting.
0.14. Any thoughts on that?
And it wasn't a walk. That was like an actual run. Yeah.
13
Easy.
pace.
Easy. That's that was a good warm up. But yeah, so if you're not in that group, hop on in there and check it out. So all right, I'm gonna shout out John Bilek. He's first up in the Strava group. John, he has a title, and all it says is First Family Lift. And then he has a picture of him, his wife, and their little child, and they did a little 40-minute family lift. So shout out to John and his family getting the family lift in and showing that baby, what's up and how to get after it at like a very, very young age. I'm saying like 6 months maybe.
Wow. That is a
good looking picture.
Thing. I have one of my favorite childhood videos of you, Makenzie, is you training in the garage next to me. Eddie, remember when we would do like the P90X?
Yeah.
And Makenzie was next to me doing burpees. I think you
were like videos.
Maybe 3 and Isaiah's 1. You can hear Isaiah like yapping in the background, but Makenzie, you're next to me doing these burpees, which that's a hard exercise.
Yeah.
But I love that we have those memories all the way back in the garage. Like, that's just been a normal part of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. And you actually just got back from the gym.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was that workout?
It was pretty good.
Now, who prescribed that workout to you?
You.
It was a nice chill workout. It was a good way to start the day.
It was a chill workout. Well, John, we don't know if yours was chill, but it was a family effort.
I love that.
Love that picture. And
thank you, John.
Yes, thank you, John. All right, next one is Tony from Strava. Tony, I love her title because her title says mini kudos for a sunset walk after work. She did a 1.4 walk after work. And you know what? I wrote to her in a little comment. I said, no, you know what? This gets a regular kudo. Mm-hmm. No mini kudo for an after work walk, because after work, you don't want to do anything. You just want to sit on the couch and eat. So Tony got out there, got the walk in. So we see you, Tony. Well done. Regular kudo for that.
Well, especially a sunset walk.
Right.
I know that's something our family has always loved to do.
Yes.
Makenzie, I don't know anyone as wildly excited about the sunset as you are. Did Dad tell you about his mini kudo conversation, his idea of different types of kudos on Strava?
A little bit.
What do you think of that? Do you think that would be something that like would be funny on Strava, or something they should actually seriously implement?
Yeah, definitely. I think it'd be fun.
Do you have any additional categories that you think should be there?
I don't know. Not really.
Well, here's how it came up, because I remember it was a picture of a girl. She did a run, but then she had a picture of like a scraped up knee, like she fell. So I felt like bad, like giving it thumbs up. So I was like, can it be like, there's got to be a different way to like, dude, I see that, but I'm not like thumbing up that, like, that's, I feel bad for you. So I was like, that's kind of what got the wheels spinning. And I figured, hey, maybe a mini kudo for like a boring kind of the same walk or the same run, that like thinking of me, like I do the same thing like every time, like I deserve something like that. So that's how it came up. But anyways, no mini kudo for Tony. Tony, regular kudo.
Well done, Tony.
Awesome job.
Thank you for sharing.
Last one, Dusty Hayes from Strava. Dusty says, longest run I've ever done. It was over 100 degrees, no shade, rocky up and downhill portions. I fell hard once and took several wrong turns. I don't know if I could do it, but I did. I didn't know if I could do it, but I did. I stayed strong. So Dusty ran 16 miles in 100 degrees.
Wow.
And that's his longest run. So huge shout out to Mr. Dusty. That's no joke.
Is Dusty training for Badwater?
You know what? Yeah, maybe.
Wow.
I don't know. He's out in Texas,
impressive.
so that makes sense for the 100.
Texas gets the heat in Texas.
It's no joke.
It is.
It is no joke.
What was it last year? For those of you for our Texans, I apologize for getting this wrong, but they had some record-breaking number of days in a row that were 100 degrees and higher. It was consecutive days. It was like 60 days or something like that. But I mean, that's our good friend Jeff Cunningham says when he coaches his athletes, he's the head coach of Bat City Runners, and Jeff Cunningham running, they have to meet so early in the morning, like before the sun comes up and when the day is still well, I don't even think it's cool. I think it's like 85, like at 5 a.m. or something like that. But to get those workouts in, Makenzie, you went out there and did a workout.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, what was the temperature when we left here? It's like 60s maybe.
Yeah.
60s like in Huntington Beach. And then what was it when you did the workout in Texas?
Well, I don't know. I did it like 6:30 in the morning, and it was like already like 74 or something.
Yeah.
And not only that, it was just like super humid too. So I was just like so sweaty.
The humidity was next level. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then it just kept on getting hotter and hotter as the workout went on. Yeah.
Yep. So Dusty, we know
Big
about
respect.
that heat out in Texas, but dude, well done on 16 miles, longest run ever. So if you're in Strava, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see some people chipping away at their goals and maybe running their longest run ever in the heat. This episode is brought to you by Jonji. Jonji makes running apparel for everyday exploration with designs, materials, and features meant to help runners go farther. Each Jonji collection is informed by a different part of the world, where they collaborate with local artists on unique designs, and they partner with clean water nonprofits. This is their way of celebrating exploration and supporting the people and the places that inspire them. Also, 2% of all the sales are donated to clean water programs around the world. And as of now, they've donated almost $1 million to clean water solutions around the globe. And I've been wearing the 5-inch AFO Middle Short Ultra, extremely comfortable. And it has a recycled polyester. It's fast drying, smooth with a soft elastic waistband. And they have 6 pockets and a high vis reflective detailing. Janji is available at REI stores as well as janji.com. And if you use code CHOOSESTRONG, you will get 10% off of your order. That's janji.com, code CHOOSESTRONG. All right, those are the 3 that I wanted to highlight this week, and that's it. That's all I got, Sal. What do we got next?
We're gonna go ahead and deep dive into all things Western States.
All things Western States is right. So we are excited about this podcast, as Sally said, because we have Makenzie, and she was my crew partner and pacer for Sal for a couple sections that we're going to chat about. But Sal, let's get to you really quick. How we feeling? A couple days removed from Western States 100.
Yeah, this is, well, actually, today's Friday, July 5th. So we've had 4th of July. We came home on Sunday night. So it's been almost a week since the race. I can't believe it.
I know.
I first just want to say, I just want to put this out there to make sure that I communicate this correctly. But there was no pain and suffering in this race. And that is something I always try to communicate with people. Is I love to tell the details of every race, because I really feel like the details are what connect us. You know, I feel like we can all identify with something in a race, you know, whether it's taking a fall, not be able to get calories down, or legs feeling heavy, or, trying to get to a certain position or make cutoffs or whatever. It's what I really love about this sport is the community that we find, but also the growth that we find. We can take what we learn in a race and apply it to life. And, I always just try to make sure that I communicate that, real life situations are where we experience like that real suffering, and what we learn in a race and in training, help us get through those times in life. And I really felt, even though I had a very long patch of discomfort in this race, it was from start to finish one of my favorite and most memorable races of my entire career. And I thought, as these days have gone on, one of the things that has stuck out to me about that is that the power of the mind rings true, and that even in our trials, even in our challenges, what we choose to focus on has so much power. And, when things started to kind of go sideways for me in the race, I held on to that. I remember thinking, I love this sport. I love that Makenzie's here. I love that Eddie's here. And, there's a lot of things that were happening every time I hit an aid station, and just the incredible support of people, the spectators that were out there. It overwhelmed me. I had a lot of emotional little segments that I've never experienced. And so, I just want to share with everyone, this was truly a memorable race for me. And despite that discomfort, I still had just an incredible time. And I'm so thankful for every step. The result was not what I wanted. It was a solid, 7.5, 8 hours slower than we had projected and what I had hoped for. Mm-hmm. But we win some and we lose some. Makenzie and I were just talking right before the podcast started, and I said, the Olympic trials are over. There was some heartbreak at the Olympic trials. These are our best athletes in the nation. I mean, just to be able to line up and call yourself an athlete who got to go to the Olympic trials is a massive honor. Mm-hmm. Every single one of those athletes should be celebrated. But there was some heartbreak. I think of Athing Mu, the 800 meter Olympic champion. Yeah. And just how heartbreaking it was to see her fall so early on in that race. And, you know, as a mom, watching her cry, like walking off, watching her cry and tearing up her bib, I was just like, I got like emotional for her, because you think about the hours and hours that she put in, the dreaming since the last time she did the Olympics.
Yeah, the years, right?
Years
like,
of what she's put in, and how so many people across the nation were cheering for her. And, you know, we weren't even thinking about whether or not she was going to qualify for the Olympics. We just were thinking about, what is she going to do at the Olympics? Like,
how by how much is she going to win?
Exactly. Like she's going to break another world record. You know, you're thinking about so far ahead because you have so much hope in her.
Yeah.
And I am not comparing myself to a thing, Mo, at all. But kind of what I was saying earlier, the beauty of sport and seeing these stories play out, like we see ourselves in each other, and we understand that even the best in the world have hard days.
Yep.
Even the best in the world fall, and they get injured, and they make mistakes. And, you know, when I was out there running the race, I had to remind myself that, like, it's okay. Like, you're not perfect, but there were times where I was like, man, I trained for almost 8 months for this race. This is hard, but again, what are you going to focus on, Sally? So, I just kind of want to kick that off. I really hope that brings a little bit of encouragement to those of you that are listening, who maybe are coming off of a fresh DNF, off of, just discovering that maybe you're injured, or maybe just in your personal life, you have some type of setback or challenge or just a loss. And, I really believe that we have these challenges in our life and they last for a season. And if we allow ourselves to walk through them, we always come out stronger every single time. And I think that even in our deepest pain, there's always something that we can be grateful for. We can always find a blessing. And I know, I think it was like around mile 43. So I was 12 miles from seeing you guys at Michigan Bluff. And I just kept telling myself, I can't wait to see Makenzie smile. Like, it was the most simple thing, but I knew that you would be there at Michigan Bluff. And it was so awesome when you ran up to the gate to get me and run me in. And it just changed my whole demeanor. Just that the power of that, having my daughter there. 'Cause I knew too, Makenzie, that, you understood me in a lot of that. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but, it was just, that was really special. So I am feeling, I'm not 100%, like, I'm still having like waves of nausea for whatever reason. I almost hesitate sharing that because I know I'm probably gonna get a whole bunch of advice and insight and opinions as to why. But, I couldn't process much, those last like 55, almost 60 miles.
Yeah.
And then especially from Forest Hill to the finish, which is the last 38 miles, I think we added up that maybe I had not even 500 calories for the last 38 miles. So I've been in that situation so many times that I understood that I really believed. I was like, oh, I know how to do this. I've been here before. I know I can still get to the finish line.
Yeah.
But I have to run at a pace that won't make me completely seize and cramp up or pass out. And so it was a lot of like jog hiking. So that's as far as I'll dive into right now before starting into the race. But just as far as my recovery goes, like the body is good.
Yeah.
Legs are a little bit sore, but overall, like, I feel good. I just need to tackle the stomach, and I'm a little dizzy still, and but it's been a good week.
Okay, well, speaking of recovery, it's been what, 6 days now?
Yeah.
Have you had any donuts?
Oh my gosh.
Let's chat about that. Let's
chat about that.
Donuts.
Okay, there's two parts about this. One, sidecar donuts, which you can find here in Costa Mesa. Find it in LA. It's my favorite post race.
Yeah, it's a treat.
It's definitely a treat.
It's definitely a treat.
The donuts are like $4 a piece.
They're more than that. They're more than $4.
So convincing Eddie that it's a good idea to go there
Yeah.
often isn't going to happen. But I will say, Makenzie and I, we went one time having a daughter mother morning. We went and got sidecar coffee and we went walking.
What do you think about
Skip
sidecar?
school too.
Shh.
Wait, what? Kens, if you had to go to sidecar right now, what donut are you getting?
Huckleberry.
Huckleberry.
Yes.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Good
So
call.
good.
Sorry, Sal. You went to Sidecar Donuts. We went to Sidecar Donuts.
We went together.
All right. Tell us what you got.
Isaiah
What
was getting his hair cut like down the street. So we dropped him off with my
convenient,
friend.
yeah.
It was
We're
convenient.
like, Sidecar's right there.
Sidecar's
Might
right
as well.
there. Might as well.
Yeah.
You and I both love the maple bacon, and we
Yes.
walk in, and we had work to do. So it was kind of like, let's grab donuts and we're going to go sit and work.
Yeah.
And to our great dismay, they said the maple bacon will not be ready for another 22 minutes. And you and I look each other,
Yeah.
and all hope
My heart
was
sunk.
lost. Despair overtook us.
I almost fell over. I was
No,
so
we ended
sad.
up getting a butter and salt, which is really good, straight out of the, it's when it's hot.
Nice and hot.
Yeah, we got like a vanilla bean, and we got a couple other good ones, but we both agreed that we very much miss the maple bacon. But it was very, very thoughtful of you. You've always taken me there after my races. So, yes, I have had a donut.
Good. Well, part of it is selfish because I know that I'm going to get one or two also. So
It's like the little kid that buys their dad a present, but it's really for them.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right. So you got your donut. You are recovering. You are slowly getting back to racing again. So when's your next 100 miles
Yeah.
race? Too soon?
Definitely, it is too soon for that.
All
Yeah.
right, too
I
soon.
did get back in the gym. That was my first gym session yesterday. So I gave
Yeah.
myself 5 days of no structured type training. And even yesterday, it just felt, I love lifting in my recovery phase. So I lifted, did a little mobility. I've been walking every day. I'll do anywhere between 3 and 5 miles just along the coast, super peaceful. I mean, a lot of it has been reflection and praying and just kind of thinking. And that's really healthy for me after a race, and to our listeners, I'm sure some people can relate to this. It's common after you've worked up so much to a race. It's been a part of your every single day for months that you do that race. And even if you have a successful race, you PR or you get on the podium or you just do everything that you wanted to do, to have the blues. They call it post-race blues. Newlyweds can relate to this too. You spend a year planning your wedding and it's all this hype and it's exciting. So what I know works for me is I keep moving. It isn't that I'm getting out and running, but I go on these really easy, really peaceful walks. I find somewhere that's pretty. My sleeping pattern is always a little off after races too. So I'm wide-eyed, totally ready to go at 4 a.m. this whole entire week.
Yeah.
So it's actually played to my advantage because I'll get up and there's no one out, or it's just very few people that are out. So I've really been loving that. And I know you love to walk too. So you've been joining me on some of these walks, which I really appreciate. Makenzie has joined for some walks too, which I love that Makenzie loves to walk too. So yeah, that's really helped.
And it's just nice on the legs too, right? Not only you get
Yes.
to reflect, but you get to just kind of flush out the legs a little bit. And
Yeah, because I've been waking up pretty tight, it's totally normal.
Yeah.
And so just walking, it just loosens me up, gets the blood flowing. There's a few times I've stopped by the fences that overlook the cliffs, that are on the cliffs that overlook the ocean.
Yeah.
And I'll do just a little bit of stretching, stretch out my back and things like that. Do some leg swings. So that's been really nice.
Yeah.
I think that mentally having that break from rigid structured training where I'm I need to get in 12 miles today at this pace and, and then I need to do this and this, typically I'm training twice a day. And so, just getting up and not even looking at my watch and just listening to my body and focusing on other things that's a good break for me. This episode is brought to you by Cozy Earth. As the summer heat rises, keep your sleep refreshing with Cozy Earth's bamboo sheet set. Cozy Earth bedding is crafted with advanced technology and regulates body temperature for a cool, comfortable sleep all summer long. All products come with a 100-night sleep trial and 10-year warranty. Incorporating Cozy Earth improves sleep quality and enhances overall wellness. Get 30% off and a free pair of lounge socks at CozyEarth.com using code CozySally. That's code CozySally.
All right, so let's chat real quick before we actually get into the race kind of breakdown. Race week.
Yeah.
So I know some people are interested in race week stuff, and yours is a little unique, I think. So let's chat a little bit about that. So we flew in Tuesday night. Races on Saturday. We flew in Tuesday night to Auburn or to Sacramento, and then went to Roby Point. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was excited just to show Makenzie the last mile of the race because it's so unique. You come out of the mountains, you've been running in the mountains for 99 miles, and then all of a sudden you're spit out into this neighborhood. Now, Auburn is a small mountain town, and it's just amazing that it ends this way because you run the last like 1.2, 1.3 miles through the neighborhood, and then you end at the entrance of Placer High track. And it's a beautiful track, beautiful stadium. And then you run that final 300 meters to the finish line. So it's so unique. I couldn't wait to show it to Makenzie because she's a phenomenal track athlete. She's always loved the trail. So it's kind of neat to show her like, here's the trail. Okay, here's the track. But what is so, I think, deceiving about this race is the road. When you first hit the road, like the first quarter to half miles is so steep. It's like wicked steep.
Yeah.
On the road, it's cruel. It's a cruel way to end this race. And this year and more in the immediate years, people are racing still in the last mile. I mean, we saw the men's and women's races were phenomenal this year. I mean, the women, we could spend a whole entire episode talking about the most competitive, fastest women's field in the history of this race. I mean, to see how close all the women finish, and even with the women 5, 6, 7 deep on the outside, blazing fast, incredible athletes. So to finish in the top 10 was just incredible. But I'm looking at like Lottie Brinks, for example. I mean, she was like, I thought she would be one of the ones, top 3. I think she definitely has what it takes to win this race. And she tied her and the girl she had been running with. They just decided, let's just like finish together. But I think they were like 14th and 15th. And it just goes to show, how deeply competitive and how wide the competition is now. It's super exciting. But we saw Hayden Hawks and Rod. They were both racing on the track. I mean, I can't imagine.
It's crazy.
The like deep discomfort. You have been running hard the entire time. And with paces like that, I mean, these guys are pretty much running every step. I mean, they come into the aid station to get the heart rate down for a minute, get the food in, hopefully cool down their body for a second. But that's it. I mean, and then they're off running super hard again. Yeah. So to know that they are racing that hard on this course.
Crazy.
I'm just so glad, Makenzie, that you got to experience it. What was that like for you watching let's talk about like just the front men and women, if you saw them? What was that like?
Yeah, it was crazy, like being at the first aid station and watching like the top men and women, like not even like some of them just didn't even stop, like they just ran through, and it like the top guys literally looked like they were running like a 5K or something.
Crazy.
And they were like going up this hill, and it was like mile like 30 something, and it was like, yeah, they were running like so fast. It's insane.
Did you think that that's what it would look like when you envision a 100-mile race?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely expect people to like, not like run the whole thing, and like, especially with like a course like that, like it was like crazy to see how fast they were going. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, Makenzie was after the race, we looked at, the time was like 13, right? The winner, Jim. And so Makenzie was curious, like, how fast is that? Like a mile? What was it?
Like 8:32.
8:32 on average
think.
on that course.
Yeah.
Insane. Absolutely
Like
insane.
that's crazy.
They're climbing like 19,000 feet of climbing.
Yeah.
They're through the steep, hot canyons.
Through the
climbs
canyons.
that are like 2, 3, 4 miles long of just straight, steep climbing.
Yeah.
30 miles of technical trail up in the high country at altitude.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things people have been saying is like, oh, Western States is fast. And I'm always like, well, Western States bring some of the best athletes in the world. They are that
They
fast.
are fast. Yeah, exactly.
They are that fit and that fast.
Yeah.
And they run in a lot of discomfort for most of the race.
Yeah.
And it's just so wild to watch. But Kenzie, I really love that you got to watch it, because what we're seeing right now in the sport of ultra running, it's changed since the time that I joined it. So when you were only 8 years old, the same year that I was signed was also your first year signing with a run club. So you were 8 years old. And when I was signed, that's when brands were just then all getting involved with ultra running, like actually creating teams.
Yeah.
So like Adidas was creating a team, and like Under Armour was creating a team, and everyone was creating these teams. But it was still really hard for people to be true professionals. And a true professional is someone they can live off of their contracts and do just that. They don't have to have, other jobs. And I know some professionals enjoy having other jobs. I know for myself, we could live off of my contracts, but like we really enjoy creating. We love our business. But it was very hard to do that. Now we're at a point where we're starting to see athletes graduate from college and they're like, okay, do I want to do road? Do I want to do track, or do I want to do trail? And it just makes me so excited for you, especially Makenzie, because you essentially started on the trail.
Yeah.
So what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, when I was like super little, we would just like go on little no, we wouldn't even call it runs, just like catching lizards, and we would like look for deer and have like a bunch of like trail mix, and like we would do the thing where we would like run for like 20 seconds and then like hike. Yeah. And it was just like super fun. And yeah, that was like all before I even joined like club when I was 8. So like I have just like so many memories of being out in like the Laguna Canyons and like running with you. So I think, yeah, I just love the trails, I think, because all those memories as well.
Mm-hmm.
But
we think it's interesting too that when you were narrowing down all the schools, because you had a lot of schools that were contacting you, and your top 2 schools were in the mountains.
Yeah.
Was that part of it? Is it part of your love for the mountains, or do you really, I mean, I know you understand performance adaptations and stuff like that. Was it you wanted to be at altitude, or was it like you wanted to be in the mountains?
I think it was both. I mean, yeah, obviously the altitude is like a very like high advantage, but yeah, just like I've always loved the mountains, and like just being in like mountain cities, or I don't know, I definitely like it more than like beach cities.
Yeah, you really thrived when we moved to Bend. I remember Daddy sent me a picture. I was working or something, but it was the first time that you ran with the Summit high school team in the snow, and you were literally wearing a sports bra, shorts, and just gloves. And and Daddy sent that to me, and I told him, I was like, she was made for the mountains.
Yep.
I don't think I ever ran just a sports bra and shorts in the snow. I was always had like 6 layers on, and like, I mean, you also train exponentially faster than I do. So, but
that was cool.
This is a really cool time for your generation, Makenzie, knowing that you have that option now and you have that experience. I feel like you're really confident on the trails, and that's something we actually talk about on this podcast. A lot of people have apprehensions, and they're a little scared, a little timid. You've never thought twice about it. Like you just go out and you just rip on a trail. Like it's just so much fun for you.
Yeah.
All right, so Tuesday night, we flew in, went to Roby Point. Makenzie got to see the last kind of mile there, and then you guys made your way to the track and kind of did some strides and got to see where it finished. And
Wednesday morning. So came in Tuesday night, and then Wednesday morning we did all that.
Oh, that was Wednesday morning.
Because then we drove to Olympic Valley.
Sorry, you're right. Wednesday morning, and then we drove hour and a half into Olympic Valley, and stayed right down Olympic Valley, which was pretty sweet. Got to feel the energy of the people, the crews, the athletes, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. We I thought it was really cool. Both you and Makenzie got to experience just what a race week can be like for me. Sometimes it hasn't always been like this. You know, when my career first started, I mean, the sport has grown. So much has changed. I've built so many more relationships. I know a lot more people than I did when I started. And I have a lot of great friends that are creators that are doing great things in the sport as far as the media goes. And so one of them is Finn and Brett over at Single Track Podcast. These guys are an up and coming podcast. And I want to encourage our listeners, if you want to check that out, it's a great running podcast. Leah Lingling is on that as well. She's incredible. And I was invited to do an interview with them. So that was my first time being able to be on their podcast. And we had such a great time, great conversation. Finn is such a kind-hearted, thoughtful host and, does things very professionally, but is also like very down to earth. And so, that was really, I loved kicking off the week that way. It actually like settled my nerves, because it's like I was just hanging out with friends, like talking about running, talking about the memories at Western States. This is my 4th time doing the race. And so it was fun to reminisce with him. Then I met up with Acha. We did a American Trail Runners Association. We did a little reel. They asked me a question about Makenzie, and that reel actually was super fun. It was circulated quite a bit, but it was really sweet talking about how much it meant to me to have her there. And then we had TrailCon.
Yep.
So we hopped on over to TrailCon, and I was on the brand athletes and media panel. Really enjoyed that discussion there. And then from there I think we went out for dinner with Billy and Hillary Yang. Tyler, who is with us, we were waiting for Sarah to come in as well. So Sarah Tara and Tyler McCain were our media, our immediate media team for us. And then the whole BPN team, they flew in the next day. But, I'd say, my career hasn't always been like that, but Wednesday was busy. It was just one thing after another. I think we kind of calculated that I pretty much talked from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. straight.
Yep.
And it was all things that I really love. This is the side of my career that I've matured and grown into. I guess it's kind of like a transitioning of passions too. This isn't something that I foresaw, but it's built on the back of running, and it's the opportunity that I have to interact with the community, to pour into others, and just to kind of give back too, because that's what a lot of the media that I was doing. It was, wanting to give back. And so Wednesday was tiring.
Yeah. Well, Thursday was just as tiring. Thursday, you kind of got up
busy.
And had a little training sesh, kind of shake out the legs.
Yeah. So I like to do, this is a great question that I can just address too, because some people are like, what do I do like the week of the race? And I say, the week of the race isn't about building fitness. You've done all the work. So some athletes you might see will go out for an hour run. I even think that Jason had me running for an hour every single day before the race, but I only picked and like I was really choosy with when I was going to do that. But historically, what I've always done is just make sure that I'm rested, that my legs feel fresh, that I'm getting good food and sleep and hydration. That's the most important thing. So there's no like gains I'm trying to make a few days before the race. So Thursday morning I got up and I did an hour session, but it was like mobility and stretching and a little bit of running and some drills and some strides. And it just felt, really good. I went and found you at the coffee house, said hi to some people. That was really nice. And then My coach, Jason Coop, and I met for 2 hours. That was very encouraging. After that, we met up with the BPN team who had just newly come in, or am I right?
Yeah.
No. Sorry.
You went to the Nike.
I went to the Nike thing. So after I met with Jason, I then went to the Nike. So Nike usually brings a pretty big team, and they rent out a really big chalet. And I met with 3 different teams. So there's an innovation team. There's like a shoe product and design team. There was like a innovation gear team. So I met with 3 different teams, and it's great. Like, they love to ask me questions. They want my feedback. They want to try new stuff. I mean, it's super fun to see what they're working on. So that was a few hours, and then ran back to our condo. We stayed right there in the valley. I really wanted you and Makenzie to experience all things Western States and just the spirit and energy there. So we stayed right there in the village. A lot of people historically have more and more started just to get houses and chalets in the valley or in Truckee, have really spread out. But I thought it would be really fun. You guys can walk down anytime and get a coffee or get an Aussie bowl. And, and also we had the luxury of being able to walk to the start line, which was like 200 meters away. It was so cool. So yeah, we then went over to meet up with the BPN crew. So Nick Bear, such a gift having him give up essentially, 4 days of his life to come and crew and pace me. He brought out a camera crew. So they're doing a film on Nick's channel, which is about his experience crewing with me. And then we're also going to do a film, just a short little thing about the race. But Billy Yang is also doing a film about my race too. But I don't think that'll be out till like the end of the year or the beginning of next year. So I guess we kind of had like three little projects going on. But I'll tell you what, a little secret. I did post this, but it was such a blessing walking into Nick's house with all the BPN crew, and he had himself made this huge dinner, and it was like gourmet. It was chicken breast, chicken thigh, these rosemary baked potatoes, really good sauteed vegetables. We had a lovely dinner.
Yeah, it was so good.
And then while we're all like hanging out and talking in the kitchen, I'm noticing that Nick is very quietly and subtly washing the dishes. He did all the dishes.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point I offered, he's like, no, you should be off your feet, and I was like, wow, like, none of the staff was doing the dishes, and he didn't make a big deal about it at all. But I was super, super impressed with that. And his whole team was just incredible. This is the first time all of them have ever been there for Western States, have ever experienced it. And because I've been at Western States almost every single year, one of my greatest joys is be able to either join someone it's their first year or bring someone along, because it truly is a magical race. And whether you're spectating it or volunteering or pacing or running it, it is just such a cool weekend. So I loved being able to be with them as they experience. But I told Nick, even before he got to the race, this has to go on your bucket list. And so he was revved up by the end of the weekend. But and then after we met with them, I think we got in bed 9-10 o'clock at night. And then it was Friday morning. It was packet pickup time. So I got up that morning, did the same kind of routine. Met you again at the coffee house afterward. Yep. We did a little filming with Tyler. I got to meet some super cool people in the community. And for those of you that I got to meet at the coffee house, thank you so much for your kindness and just coming up to Eddie and I. It was really fun to meet some new friends and just, some people that were wearing the Choose Strong hat or just wearing yellow. That was super sweet. And then we went to go pick up our bib.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to add to our bib packet pickup. I thought it was really cool that they let you guys come in with me.
Yeah, no, we weren't expecting to go through the line with you, so that was neat to
in years past they never, But we went right when they opened.
Yeah, we did.
So I think that's why
there was no line.
Yeah, and Hoka was doing that event at the time. They're doing the run to the top. So it was like kind of perfect. So I think because there was no one there, they're like, okay, you guys can come in. And it's so fast. I mean, it lasted like 4 minutes, but I was very grateful that they let you and Makenzie just like come with me to pick up everything. It was so special.
Yeah, that was cool to go through the line with you. And it was neat to because I was before you, so I kind of led you through the line a little bit. And each time there was the stations, they had the volunteers were like, oh, cool, here comes Sally. And they were so excited to meet you and, give you a hug and stuff.
Well, there is 3 ladies wearing these yellow knit, these yellow hearts that were knit. Yeah. So shout out to Carol, who wanted me to sign her barf bag. I did sign it. We did meet, but she's the one that knit all of those. And I actually saw those at different times during the race too. Yeah. And it was just so precious. But
that was cool.
Yeah. So we picked up, the bib. We took some pictures at the start line with the whole crew. Yep. We spent about an hour. We got to visit with the community. I really, really loved that. We had this is actually a really funny story. So I didn't realize this, but the room that we were given, it was on the 4th story right above the stage in the village.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, cool. I can listen to the race meeting just from the balcony. And I was sitting on the balcony, and like 4 minutes in, my good friend, John Goldfield, who is a buddy that I met when I used to do my trail camps in North Carolina. This is like 6 years ago. I
actually met him. That was the first time I've met him.
He is the coolest guy.
Yeah.
Love him.
He said he went to multiple camps.
He went to multiple camps. He plays the harmonica. He is like a friend of the friend. Everybody loves John. But like 5 minutes into me sitting on the balcony, he texts me. He's like, Sally, we can see you up on the balcony. And he was like all the way on the other side, down below while the meeting's going on. And him and all his friends stand up and they start like waving and being all silly. And I was like, oh my gosh. It was really funny. But yeah, we did that. And then it was time to pack the bags. And we all met about, crew stuff. And then Makenzie and I took some time to make...
like hair ribbons.
Yeah, tell us about the hair ribbons, because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, I've made hair ribbons since I was like freshman in high school. I made them at Summit in Oregon, and like all the girls, we all had like matching ones like for state. And then when I went to Huntington, we did like the same thing. So I have like these ribbons that I wear like every race. So I have like green ones from like Summit, and then I have like orange and black ones from Huntington. And so I thought, me and my mom thought it'd be cool if we like made yellow ones and wrote like Choose Strong and Western States 24, so we could like both wear them like while you were racing, and like just keep them in the future too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun to make them.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
It was like a really peaceful activity for me to do, where I could just like sit with Makenzie, and they're super cute. So mine's hanging in my bathroom right now. Like it's like a little like souvenir. Yeah, it's really sweet. It's a little souvenir.
Very creative.
Yeah, really cool. So that was it. And then it was time to go to bed. And I think our listeners can identify with this. Like, you might get a good night's sleep the night before a race, you might not. Never fret. It's if you've been tapering, you're probably well rested by this point. And we got up. I think the race started at 5 a.m. I think we left the building like at 4:40.
Yeah.
And I love that, because it was a 90-second walk to the start.
Yeah, that was perfect.
But we'll throw the picture up here for our YouTubers. The selfie with Makenzie and Eddie was really sweet. Like, that was the last moment that I had with hugs. And then it was time to start the race.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into the race here. So let's break it up into a couple sections. What were you thinking? You want to do the first 30? Yeah. 60, 90, and then the last 10.
Yeah, we can do that. I think that's a great way to approach a 100, especially if it's your first 100, is to break it up into sections. Another thing you can do is just break it up aid station to aid station. Now, Western States has 20 aid stations, especially towards the end. I mean, some of these aid stations are less than 3 miles apart. It is so special. I mean, that's uncommon for ultras to have 20 aid stations. That's a real treat. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to dive in and just kind of talk about my experience and then you and Mackenzie's experience.
Yeah.
What was going on in the community, because as the race went on, it kind of started to take a different shape for me than I had planned and than I had intended, but it turned into like a really beautiful day. And this race will always be really special for me for that. So obviously it's, I've talked about in previous podcasts, I talked about this on Nick's podcast, I talked about this on Single Track podcasts, that the importance of always having a champion's mindset. You bring that to the table every single day in your training. You bring that when you race. And this is regardless of your ranking, of maybe the way that you personally size yourself up or how critics sign you up. It's really this idea that I'm going to give 110% no matter what, because I think that is, for me personally, I feel like I'm responsible to that, and that I should always give my best in everything. And then you never know what's going to happen. Like for me, I said, I could end up having the race of my dreams and win. It could also land me in 60th, 70th, 80th place, Yeah. But I want to know that when I finish a race, I gave everything that I could, and I gave my best with what I had on that day. And so, that gun went off, and that was my mindset, was I'm so grateful to be here.
Yeah.
This is Western States.
Yeah.
This is a gift. This is where it all started, for me. And I think knowing that you and Makenzie were going to be at mile 30 Robinson Flat, like waiting for me, that was a really cool milestone for me to look forward to. And I started up that first climb. Historically has never been like my strongest section in all 4 years that I've done it. When Ann Trayson coached me, she always said, don't worry about being the first at the top. I was always the last. But I always speculate when she would tell me that, I'm like, last as in the top 10 women, you were the last.
Yeah.
I don't think you were like the last person.
Nice try, Ann.
Yeah. But, I noticed like probably like 2 miles in, it was, I was breathing a little bit heavier than I normally would. The profile in the first 4 miles is almost the exact same as Mount Baldy. So there's this route that I do from Manker all the way up to Telescope Peak, I believe it is. It's towards that way, or it's towards it's like this 5 mile climb, but like there's other peaks along the way that you can hit. But I love it because it's such a great way to practice for Western States. And I did it several times in my training. And basically I'm going from 6,000 feet to a little over 8,000 feet. And I would do this over and over again when in my training. And so I was confident because Olympic Valley is like in 6,000 feet. Then you go up to a little over 8,000 feet. So I was like, dude, I've got this. And I timed myself, and every time I did it, I was like getting faster. So I felt like pretty confident. And those first 2 miles, I was like, okay, I don't feel like amazing, but that's fine. The response that I've trained myself to say when things don't feel the way I want them to is just say, that's fine. We're going to keep going. This race is long. Like, I love this sport. Let's keep moving forward. That's what we're supposed to do. There's a lot of ground that I could make up. I ended up getting to the top about 7 or 8 minutes slower than I had projected. And because of that, I definitely paid the price. So I ended up getting caught in kind of like this centipede of runners all the way to the first aid station. This is the longest of aid station gaps. It's 10.5 miles. Yeah. So Lion Ridge, mile 10.5, I got in there. I think I want to say like 6 or 7 minutes slower into there too. And I was like, shoot, like, okay, it's only 10 miles in. Like I definitely have some work to do. This is high country. We're in altitude. Body felt good. I was digesting calories really well. I was totally on top of all the nutrition. This was a really big thing that Jason and I focused on in this training cycle. And Eddie and I, we've talked about this. Throughout the Grand Slam, at some point, my stomach and my intestines were, oddly kind of an issue that I would work through.
Yep.
I would work through, and then we would be okay again. And I was always like, oh, is this because it's the extremity, the extremity of the race? Is it, I'm so exhausted. I didn't know if having done Tahoe and Bigfoot so close together, if I, was I really stressing out the system? I mean, there's a lot of questions with that Grand Slam. And I know that, my recovery from the Grand Slam was a little bit shorter, but Jason and I were like, we can still put together a really good training plan. And I was very confident, especially the last 2 months. I really felt my fitness was there. I felt like my nutrition was nailed. So I was very happy with that in the high country. So those first 30 miles were good, but I didn't feel like I had like good pop in my legs. I felt this very, very deep fatigue. And there was a couple times, like I did 4 training camps up on the Western States course. And one of the last ones I had messaged Jason and I said, I just feel so tired, like deeply tired. This isn't like, oh, my legs are tired or this training day is tired. It was a different type of tired. I just felt deeply fatigued. And we then kind of batted around some stuff that was going on in my personal life, just with this season, with Makenzie graduating and, going on recruiting trips and her sports, and Isaiah too. Isaiah's at a really busy time in his life, and our business has been, this is the busiest it's ever been. And so I just had to be honest with Jason and say, I am juggling a lot of things, but he and I agreed. We're like, dude, so proud. You are nailing the training. And so I was like, yeah, you know what? This is part of the training. I'm going to be tired. So that was always the message I told myself. It was never like, uh-oh. It was just like, yes, this is part of it. Like if I'm going to do all of this, I'm going to be tired. And so we then made sure to adjust. So it was like, okay, let's take one more day of rest. Let's do more recovery stuff. So I think we always like did a good job of doing that. But those first 30 miles, as I came into Robinson Flat to see you guys, I was like, I'm over 30 minutes slower than we projected. So, I was really hoping to do like a high 18, low 19 hours on the course. I had the fitness for it. I had a lot of the workouts to prove that, going up there 4 times for mini camps. It's one of the reasons why I do that, to test myself. I didn't do any racing. I knew that I needed just to focus on the training. I didn't really have the luxury to add in all of these races. And I knew that my body needed as much rest as possible and much buildup as possible. So Jason was there waiting. And when I arrived, I was like, Jason, I can't believe how slow I'm moving. And he's like, remember what we talked about? We talked about you arriving into Robinson Flat. And if you didn't hit your time, we were going to say good. And he's like, remember we say good? I'm like, you're right. We do. I'm here. I'm doing good. But I kind of want to pivot here because this is like my first time seeing you guys. Yeah. And I always let myself, like, it's okay to have a couple minutes where you're like, dang it, because I care about what I'm doing. Like, this is my job. I want to be good at my job, And so I had these few minutes as I was coming to Robinson Flat where I'm looking at my watch and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm a lot slower. But then I saw Makenzie's face and she kind of directed me to where I was supposed to go. And that just, in that moment, it really lifted my spirits, Makenzie, just to see you. But how are you feeling? Were you like, oh my gosh, Mom, pick up the pace?
Yeah, I was waiting at like a little like corner where it like cuts off between like the aid station and like where the crew people can go. And I was like, I could see from like afar, like people running down the trail, like through the trees. So like me and Tyler were like looking like, is that her? Is that her? So like, and then we like saw you like after like so many times thinking it was you. We finally like actually saw you. And I was
saw
like,
my hat.
Yeah. And I was like so excited to see you because that was the first time I'd seen you like the entire race. So it was like, I was super excited to like run alongside you. And yeah.
I loved that you always came out to me and that we got to run
Yeah, me
together
too.
into every single section. Remember I tried to hop over the fence and they're
Yeah.
like, you're not allowed to do that.
I know,
I
yeah.
was like,
Wait,
I
you
felt like a
did?
rookie. Well, I have been to Robinson Flat and it has been set up 4 different ways.
Oh,
So I've
really?
been out at Western States of the 10 years of my career. I've been out there 8 times.
Okay.
And Robinson Flat is always changing. 1, because of the fires. 2, I mean, there's so
Mhm.
many like different reasons why. And so I hadn't seen it like that. And so
What was
just
the
went-
gate? I can't
it
remember.
was no,
You
it was
should
like
just step
it
over
was
something?
like set up with like just these sticks in the ground with like
Oh, the
ribbon
flags.
that's supposed to be for the crew.
Oh, gotcha.
But I thought that's where I was supposed to go. I thought that's where I was being taken to, and they're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
no, you need to go around this way. So
Yeah.
I felt like a little kid, but no, it was really cool seeing you in that station. We were out. Was I out in and out pretty?
Yeah,
fast.
You were out
pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty fast.
Yeah, that was a very cool aid station, right? Because it's the first one that crew can be at, and so it's got everybody, and everybody's there early. You know, they're just excited to see the race, and we got there so early. Makenzie already said it. We got to see all the front, packs go through, and
Yeah.
got to see Jim rip through there, and all the
So
girls, and
cool.
so it was neat to experience that, and yeah, it was fun. We got to meet some people that when we set up, they would come and say hi, and which is cool to meet some people. But yeah, it was fun to finally get to see you at 30 miles in, because people would see us as we were walking up to set our stuff down and ask how you're doing, and we're like, we don't know, we haven't seen her yet, but we're hoping she comes in and is doing well.
Yeah, I was always curious if you guys had a chance to meet friends at the aid stations.
Definitely. Yeah. There
Yeah,
are
there
always
was a
people
ton.
like coming up to us, like asking how you were doing, and like just like hanging out with us, and it was awesome.
Yeah, and I thought it was funny too, because after a while, people would come up to us and talk to us, and then they would always, talk to Makenzie. I would say, "Oh, this is Makenzie," and they would, "Oh, Makenzie, yeah, congratulations on graduation and best of luck at NAU." And this happened a bunch of times, and then she's like, "Dad, like they already know like everything about me." I go, "Yeah, we kind of talk about you a little bit on the podcast."
We talk about our kids a lot on the podcast, so people feel like they know you. But how cool is the community, though?
Yeah, so awesome. Yeah, everyone's like super sweet and like very supportive.
You can see why ultra runners love being a part of the sport, regardless of what pace they are. It's just such a friendly community.
Definitely.
Yeah, that was. I know seeing Jason was also really nice. Coach Jason Coop, and I remember asking him. So Jason coaches 5 of the people that were in the top 10.
Yeah.
So on the men's and women's side, there was 2 guys in the top 10 and then 3 women in the top 10. Amazing. He's one of the best ultra coaches like in the business. So
Well, yeah, the females were 1, 2, 3.
yeah, he
insane.
coached the podium.
Yes, that's crazy.
And so when I came in, I was asking about it. He's like, focus on your race, but like, in that moment, I'm always thinking about the race,
Sure, yeah.
and I'm motivated by that. I think that was one of the things I talked to you about, Eddie, like the night before. I was like, I love knowing what's going on in the race. Like, it's super motivating for me. And so I was like, how's Heather Jackson doing? How's Esther? How's Katie? And that's when I first found out that she was like 20 minutes ahead of the course record, which is mind-boggling, because last year was a cold year. And when the course record is broken, it's when it is cold. And, temperatures have a massive effect on pace. And so to know that when it was hot, that these women were moving that fast, it blew me away.
Yeah.
That was super exciting. So I was like pepping my step, seeing you guys, knowing that the race was like moving really well. And I loved that section. Like the next half marathon, there's a lot of downhill. So I thought, okay, I can pick up the pace, I can move well. And so that's what I aim to do. I knew that in 8 miles, I would see Nick and the whole BPN team. So, 8 miles later, I ran into them, did the same thing, doused, changed my pack. It was really quick. We had a really cool like system. I would take off my pack, douse with a bottle, put on a new pack, and then just keep running. So I wanted to be as efficient as possible in the aid station. And this is a little tip, unsolicited advice for you guys listening. Count how many aid stations are in your next race. And then you decide how long you want to be at each aid station. Now, granted, sometimes when things are going south, you need to sit at an aid station a little bit longer, right? And so sometimes sitting is going to help you a little bit, but have a plan every time you enter an aid station, because it is heartbreaking when you miss cutoffs by like 2 minutes, 1 minute, and then you realize you're like, oh man, I sat in there too long. One thing that I notice when I come into aid stations is how kind all the volunteers are. You see other crews, you see friends. So it is easy, I know, for me to get caught up in that. I love talking to people and catching up or just meeting new people. And so it's easy for time to be added on if you don't have a plan going into an aid station. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a rigid plan. But just, maybe you have 3 things that you always do, and just try to keep those things quick. And so that was the plan there. We got in and out. And I do need to say that at this time, I really started to notice that this was turning into a special day. I mean, every aid station that I went into, there was people who were so kind and greeted me by name and gave me hugs. We took selfies. I mean, it was an experience. It was just an experience that I hadn't had before. And I was like, wow, like this is like overwhelming and like the sweetest emotional way, and the closer I got to Forest Hill, it was just, it was just really special every time I came into an aid station. I mean, I'd have like awesome conversations with people. So after I left mile 38 aid station, I'd say probably like maybe an hour after that is I started to have these strong urges to urinate, and I couldn't. And I started getting a little dizzy, and then I was nauseous. And my first thought was like, I know what to do. Like, this isn't, it didn't freak me out. I wasn't like bummed out. I was like, I can still run with this, but I do need to take care of myself because I'm heading into Devil's Thumb, like into the canyons where it's going to be super hot. So I got into the Last Chance aid station, which I believe is mile 43.
43, yep.
Yeah, 43. And they were spectacular there. My intestines weren't great. Thankfully, they had a bathroom there. I got out. They tried to help give me some things. The race had sparkling water. Sparkling water is like one of my favorite things after a long run. But I first went for ginger ale because ginger ale has helped me in the past. You can still get calories in. The ginger and the fizz kind of can settle your stomach. So I was like, all right, I'm going to take that. I think I put some in a bladder. I tried to eat some pieces of fruit, and then I got doused with some water and then continued on. I did that section a lot in training. I didn't hit it at the pace that I wanted to. I just was feeling increasingly worse. But I will say this, because people were asking me about the heat. I never felt hot. Like, I was really hoping that we would have a very hot day. I think it's important to note too, like when I say it didn't feel hot, it's like, oh my gosh, it's so hot. That kind of day. It was a hot day.
Yeah.
But we did a lot of heat training. We got, very, very heat accustomed. Like I felt like I was moving well in the heat. I never felt like, oh my gosh, I can't move through this. This is like bogging me down. It was more of some other things going on that I was like, I know I can handle this. I've been here before, but I need to figure this out. So as I climbed up to Devil's Thumb, hit that aid station, and I said, going to take care of myself because I want to move. I had hope for Forest Hill to the finish. It's just like my favorite section, and I can usually move really fast on that section. So even now, as I was falling further and further back, I thought I can turn this around, and I didn't know what was happening up front,
Yeah.
So I got up there. I had 3 popsicles. I took in some ginger ale and a little bit of fruit, and then I continued on. started to get super queasy again after I left. And then it was descending down into El Dorado Creek. So it was like a 5-mile descent. El Dorado Creek, you hit that at the very bottom. My good friend Don Freeman from Trailrunner Nation. What's up, Don? He was waiting down there. He was actually taking people into the river. And he's like, Sal, you want me to take you? And I was like, no, I got to get going. And I had been dousing every time I saw a creek. So I was constantly wet. Like I was soaked all the time. That's a heat strategy that I do. I also run with a bottle that's just a dousing bottle. So I was always keeping myself cool. I didn't feel like I was struggling with the heat, but I got down there and ginger ale was making me nauseous. Fruit was making me nauseous. And I said, do you guys have a sparkling water? And I was pulling out all the tools. And so I told myself this sparkling water is this is gonna be life for me. And I did. I told myself that. And after Dawn shoved some ice in me, I got up and I did the 2.5-mile climb up to Michigan Bluff on sparkling water. I'd say from Last Chance to Michigan Bluff, so from 43 to 55, I probably was able to get in. I had those 3, they're little like single popsicles, that are like broken in half or whatever. So between all that, we're probably looking at about 200 calories in that entire section. And I thought, when I get to Michigan Bluff, so when I saw you guys, it was my second time seeing you. This is like, Makenzie was so awesome. I knew I needed to take care of myself because I really wanted to do well in that next section. But I have to say to whoever did this, there was a big sign that was put on the fence. And I'm going to well up right now with tears because it said, go Sally McRae, number 42 was my number. Or was I 43? No, it's 42. And it said, don't quit in the middle. And that was like the middle. That was the middle of the race. And, I was still very optimistic and hopeful. I kept telling myself too, like, I get to be here. And I've put in so many reps. Like, I know how to move with discomfort. And as I said at the beginning of this podcast, the power of our mind is incredible. And if you choose to focus on what is good, on what it is that you're accomplishing, on your goal ahead, you can move, maybe not at the pace that you want to, you can still move forward. And that is just what I kept saying, is like, Makenzie's waiting for me, Eddie's waiting for me. Like, every time I passed somebody on the trail, I mean, every runner would talk to me. It was the neatest thing. I got to meet so many people, and the volunteers were so kind, and I'm seeing yellow and there's signs up, and I'm just like, look at how beautiful this experience is. Like, this is amazing. There's so much to celebrate. There's so much good and blessings that I can focus on. I don't got any broken bones or anything. Like, yeah, my performance isn't great. Like, it is heartbreaking that you train so hard, it doesn't turn out the way that you want it to. You think of like a thing Mo, right? That's why I brought up that story. It's like, this is not an end of the world situation. This is part of being a runner. Yeah. This is a part of every journey of a runner. We win some, we lose some, we're healthy, we're injured, we're sick, we're well, there's highs, there's lows. It's like, that's the part of the whole journey. And I think that I was just reminded of that every single aid station, so I as soon as I went around that fence, there was Makenzie running up at me, and I had like this moment. I don't know if you remember this, Makenzie, because you were probably only 3, but when I did my very first ultra in 2010, oh my gosh, it's crazy to think that was 14 years ago, but I was running into the halfway mark, and you and Leslie and Andy Vandenacker and our kids were all waiting for me on the side of the bike path. Yep. And Makenzie came running at me with her little like teddy bear, like her baby doll. And it was just like the sweetest thing, because she had like the same huge smile, and I'm like, here's my girl. Like, she's 18 years old now, and you're rocking like the raddest Nike kit ever. We'll have to put pictures up of what she looked like when she came into Michigan Bluff to pace me into that aid station. It was really cool. But yeah, that had been, 24 miles since I had seen you, Makenzie. Yeah. How was Michigan Bluff for you? How was that section?
It was really fun. It was very hot. But yeah, I was super excited to like see you come down that hill, and just being able to see you again. I was really looking forward to that.
Yeah. I know what I just appreciated was just how positive both of you guys are. And we were talking about the crew on the crew episode, things not to say to your runner.
Yeah.
And one of them is that you totally floored me. I didn't know you were going to say this is, wow, you look horrible.
Yeah.
There was a guy on the top of escarpment, the first 4-mile climb,
Yeah.
wearing a yellow shirt that said, wow, you look horrible.
So awesome.
And he came at almost all the aid stations, and I just could not stop laughing. It was like such a good turnaround. But you and Makenzie were pretty positive. And Eddie, you've been with me with so many of my racing now in the last like 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know you always know what my goals are.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you kind of had to lock into in those moments?
Well, when you came into Michigan Bluff, I didn't really know kind of where you're at, because this is only the second time we saw you. The first time we saw you was, 30.
But you knew I was significantly off
I knew you were definitely you slowed down for sure.
Yeah.
But I didn't know why, and so I remember taking a video of you when you came in and asking you, and you said you couldn't keep anything down, and so I knew we needed to pivot a little bit and try to do what we could to get you cool, and and which is fine, right? That's like you said, it's just sometimes the race doesn't go as you had intended and planned, and then you're flexible with your strategy moving forward, and you just adjust. But for me, I just want to touch back really quick on Michigan Bluff. I think it was a special aid station for me because that was, I think, 2015 maybe.
15.
When
you weren't supposed to be there.
Yeah, when I brought the kids there.
Ann Trayson very clearly let us know.
Yeah, when I brought the kids there that year, that was the first time I was there, and the kids were, 2015. How old were you? Like 9?
Yeah, she was 9 and 7.
Yeah, so we met you there, and obviously your coach Ann Trayson did not want us to be there because the kids
crying.
Instantly went up to you and you started crying, whatever. But it was neat because when we got to that part, and it's been so long since I've been there, it was hard to recognize. I'm like, wait, I remember being here, but not really. So we walked that whole street to where you would come off the hill, and I remember seeing this kind of the section, and I'm like, okay, now I'm slowly starting to remember it, and I remember it being a lot like greener and shadier, back in the day.
The fires changed that.
Yeah, so we pulled up the picture of when Makenzie and Isaiah met you that time. Aww. Coming off of the trail, and I remember Tyler showing you're like, he was like, that's the big red building or red house right there and in the distance, and it was just a neat moment to see Makenzie, now 18, in that that same exact spot, that she was, being excited to catch you off the trail, and with that same excitement, all these years later. And so that was a special moment, I know, for you guys, but also for me to see that and catch you. But Michigan Bluff was a cool aid station too, because Makenzie, you got to pet a kitten.
Yeah, there were like these old people with like a cage that said free kittens. And it was like, so I walked over, and there's like these 2 little black kittens, and they're like, yeah, take one. And they're like so cute. I got to hold one of them, and it was so cute. And he was saying how like the mom and dad like came into their house when like the fires were going on.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, and so they like had these 2 cats, and then they ended up having like a litter of kittens. So they like had all these kittens that they were like having to give away.
It was
but
so
I was
random.
like, I was like, can I take one?
Yeah, she kept asking me, Dad, can we take a kitten? Do you think Mom would let us? I'm like, come on, what, are you kidding me? We're in the middle of this race because we wanted to take home a kitten.
It was so cute.
They were cute.
Kittens are so cute.
Yeah, they were cute. But so Makenzie
but kittens turn into cats, and Dad likes
more
dogs
of a dog
better.
guy, so we don't need to get on. That's a different story. But so that was pretty fun to have Makenzie wait and just be able to get her kitten fix, and then and then we had a really good cheeseburger.
We did.
Yes, they served us up a barbecued cheeseburger, and we were really hungry. And
Makenzie loves cheeseburgers.
Yeah, Mackenzie's one of her favorite foods are cheeseburgers. So
that makes me so happy.
We had a good meal at Michigan Bluff. So.
I was always like kind of wondering, like, oh, I hope they're having fun. Like, I hope they've gotten good food. And it was such a relief to see you guys there. But I was pretty determined to get something in. So we went and sat down. You were trying to keep me cool with some with some rags and stuff like that. And then I think I had because I remember seeing it in a different form, but I had some strawberries and some watermelons and a cracker.
Yeah.
So I think I got a couple like spears of watermelons, maybe some pieces of tangerine. I think I had a couple pieces of tangerine, like a bite of a strawberry, and then a little spear of watermelon. And I put the crackers in my pocket, hoping that I could eat more of that. And then it was like, I need to get through this section. I had run that section every time in camp multiple times. And so I was like, I know this section. I know how to move through it quickly. And I did my best, getting out of there. But unfortunately, about 20 minutes later is when I started just projectile vomiting. And that happened like 6 times. So sorry, listeners.
Yeah.
And that was what I had in the aid station, probably equated to maybe 150 calories. And so you add that up between like the 200 I had all the way from mile 43. It was a little, frustrating in that moment, but then I just remembered it's all right. Like, I've done this before.
Yeah.
And I'm still moving. It's not like I threw up and then passed out. I think I had some ginger ale in one of the bottles and then just water in the other. So I thought, all right, I'm going to kind of reset here. So I let myself walk, which I think is always good after vomiting, because in years past it used to scare me. If I vomited, I'd be like really afraid, like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can get to the finish line now. But I remember telling myself, like, good, like, time to reset.
Yeah.
And I had actually was hoping that at some point I would throw up, because my stomach hurt so much. I was so uncomfortable, and I kept thinking, like, man, it would just feel like so much better if I like vomited. So I vomited everything and pretty violently. But then I thought, okay, like, now I'm in a reset. Like, this is what I need, and this is usually like a turning point for me. So I'm just going to kind of ease back into it. So I hiked for a little bit, was sipping on ginger ale, and then eventually hit Bath Road, which is now like I'm now like a mile and a half from Forest Hill.
Yeah.
And I was so excited because this is where I was going to pick up Nick Bear. Makenzie was going to run with us too into the Forest Hill aid station. So I was like, this is good. Like, I've had a reset. Yeah, I don't have anything in me whatsoever. Still a little dizzy, pretty low on energy at this point. But Nick's waiting at the top, just so excited. I mean, he's so ready to experience Western States. I haven't seen him since mile 38, so he has no idea like how I'm feeling. Now I'm moving toward mile 62. That's what Forest Hill is. But we jog in, and in all of its beauty that Forest Hill is, we hit just a enormous loud of cheers, and there was friends out there, and we were greeted so kindly. I think one of the things, we got to picture this. I think this is when I started crying. There was a mom with her 2 children there who had been waiting for 7 hours for me to come in. Now I say that, a little embarrassed that she waited that long. That's how slow I was, moving. She probably thought I'd be there a lot earlier. But also just so amazed and humbled that she would bring her kids in the heat. They made signs. I think she had the yellow hat on, and then her kids were in some shirts. There's some do the work stuff. It was just, that moment for me reminded me why I was really out there. And I don't think I would really trade my race experience for anything, because, it was so unique because of that. I'm running in with Makenzie at my side, and we come up to that mom, Makenzie, you remember them and those kids, and we gave them hugs, and like, being able to experience that with Makenzie next to me was really special, because Makenzie, I know this past year, like your senior year was a hard year for you. And as your mom, it was really heartbreaking for me, because I know you were hurting inside. And I saw you in cross country sacrifice yourself so that your team would place and get points and, qualify for state, qualify for CIF. And then I saw you work so hard, going to your PT appointments, going to your strength coach, trying to come back from that injury, and then go into track and not do everything you wanted to do in track. Like, you had some battles, and I just felt like so often, there's so much I always wanted to say. Obviously, as your mom, I know I can say too much, but a lot of the messaging this year that I've wanted to share with you is that you are so much more than your results, and running and who you are as a runner will always be so much more than what place you get. It really is how you treat other people, the friends that you meet along the way, the memories that you make, and the joy that like just pure running brings you. You know, I think of you running when you were a little girl, and it just always brought you so much joy. When you were saying in the beginning, like how much fun we just had running on the trails, it didn't care what our pace was or how far we went, you know? And I think for me, you had a front row seat to just see me like struggle in this race. But at the same time, you also got to experience how beautiful the community is and how meaningful the race still was, despite the fact that I finished so much slower, you know, way off of the competition. And that will always be really precious to me. And that's something that I just hope that you carry with you as you go to college. Because you're going to have amazing days. You're going to break records. You're going to be on top. And then you're going to have seasons too, where it's just hard, you know, and challenging. And then you're going to be back breaking records. And it's like, it's always a journey, right? It's a journey that we all experience. And I think when we choose to focus on what is good and what's lasting, that's what keeps us going, you know? And that really is what kept me going after we left. So after we hugged that family, we stopped and I tried to eat something. And I don't think I got much down.
No.
Nick kind of like squatted down like in front of me, and I just told him, I was like, listen, I can move while feeling terrible, or I can sit here and feel terrible. And I said, it'll probably take about an hour for me to fully like reset, but I really believe I'm going to reset. I really, really do. I love this section. We're going to have so much fun. And he was just fired up. And so I pop out of my chair and we're like, let's go. So we like head down the street. We met more people as we were, there was people wearing Do the Work shirts, yellow. There was so much yellow. There was so many amazing people out there. And it was just so fun, like running all those people. I gave Makenzie a huge hug right before we turned on Cow Street, and kind of the same thing. It was like, I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
You know, I'll see you at the river. And Nick and I took off, and we spent the next, 16 miles just like in this amazing conversation. Our conversation was so amazing. We were like, dude, we should have done a podcast while we were running. But, every time we got to an aid station, and Nick like went to school for like sports nutrition or whatever. So he's like, he really knows the body well and different things that I should be trying. So less than 3 miles after we left Forest Hill, he's like, Sally, you should really try to get broth in you. Like the collagen would be really good for your belly. And he was right. I put some broth all in a flask, and I got that down, but like how many calories are in that? So I still wasn't able to eat. I took another sparkling water, and every time we had an aid station from Forest Hill to the finish, I was drinking sparkling water. And really what I was doing was I was playing a mind game with me. And I'd actually had this conversation with Jason, because I was going over all like these different things that runners use to either help them recover or like help them focus. And I'm like, how much of this is like actually like helping people's performance? And he said, if you believe that it's going to work, he's like, sometimes placebos just work because that's how powerful your mind is. Yeah. And I was kind of remember that as I run, I was like, I'm going to tell myself that the sparkling water is working. Like that's giving me energy. That's filling my stomach. Like I feel great if I have a sparkling water. So I drink these sparkling waters, and I would tell myself that in my mind, like, as long as they have a sparkling water, I'm going to be good. Well, how many calories are in a sparkling water, Kenz? Do you know?
No.
0.
Oh, 0.
Also, no calories.
0
You're
calories.
right. You're right both times, Kenz. There's no nutrition, nothing. The carbonation felt good on my stomach. That's really why I was taking it in. But I would run with this can, I'd drink it, and then I'd smash it, and Nick would shove it in my pack. And the next aid station, we would throw the can away, and I'd get another can. And a couple times I tried to eat like a little piece of fruit here and there. I think we kind of added up that between Forest Hill and the finish that maybe 400 or 500 calories, maybe I was able to get in. But before we even got to the river, I was puking again, and I didn't have anything in my belly. So it was like the lining of my stomach. And if you've ever had like, food poisoning, like chokes you, you have nothing, but you're still like vomiting.
Oh, yeah. That's the worst feeling.
That's the state that I was in. So, again, I don't want anyone to think like I was not suffering out there. It was just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I was uncomfortable, but I had full belief without a doubt, I knew I would get to the finish. And at one point, Nick was like, dude, you have to get something. As we go into the night, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., that's when you really get tired. And not having any calories in me would make it even worse.
Yep.
Temperatures are dropping. That makes it worse. It's like there's so many things that would increase that fatigue. But I told him as we moved along, I was like, the 200s were so good for me. They were so good for me because this race actually felt fast for me as far as like time. Like every time I got into an aid station, I was like, we're already at 80. Yeah. We're already at 85. Like I just couldn't believe it. And because the aid stations were so close together, I mean, in the 200s, they're 15 to 20 miles apart between aid stations. And these were like 3.5 miles, 4 miles. And so I was just like, I had zero doubt. I had full confidence, but I really, I take that confidence because of the reps that I put in the years past.
Sure. Whereas
if this was like my first couple years, like doing ultras, I don't think I would have had that confidence. I would have been kind of freaked out. Like, I don't have anything left. I'm puking. I'm dizzy. I'm tired. Like, how am I gonna get that energy? But one of the things that I figured out was if I run at a low, like energy,
intensity.
Like a low intensity. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. If I run at a low intensity, then I can find that pace where it's like I'm not burning like barely anything.
Yeah.
I think the fitter we are, the less energy we actually use. And so, things that may have been harder for me and required more energy of me early on in my career, like require barely anything. So the idea of like go out for a 10-mile run, okay, 15, 20 years ago, like that was like a big deal, 10-mile runs. But now I'm like, yeah, it takes me about 10 miles to warm up, and like my body's so efficient that it's not burning the same amount of calories as it did, a decade, 15 years ago in that. And so I knew if I could just run at a lower intensity that I wasn't gonna be cramping up and blowing up and, redlining. And so it ended up being, a pretty slow pace. Because when we left Forest Hill, we were still under the 24-hour mark. And I really thought, we're still going to get that 24-hour buckle. And then at one point I was like, you know what? It's good to add variety. Let's get 3 sub 24-hour buckles and then we'll get a sub 30-hour buckle. But I'll tell you what, the joy that was Nick, and such a friend and so patient and so encouraging the entire time. I loved our section together. And then to be able to see you guys at the river, I've never in all my years stopped at the river. And I've never had anyone crew me from that side of the river. But our listeners will get a good kick out of this. So one of my best friends from college hiked down from Driver's Flat, a 2-mile hike with her children in the dark, like at 1 a.m. to see me. And then Gordon Ainsley, who's the first guy to run Western States, like one of the founding fathers of Western States. He's also a chiropractor. And he knew I was so sick. And he's like, Sally, let me adjust you. I can take care of the nausea. So he adjusted me really quick. And then Nick and I did the iconic cross in the river, which was really fun. The water was so low this year that we didn't even have to wear a life vest. That's how low it was. Because historically, you always wear a life vest if you cross by the rope. If the water's really high, then it's like you're on a boat. But this year it was so low. So we just went straight in, grabbed onto a rope, I kept just praising those volunteers because they just stand in the river the whole time in their wetsuits and tell you exactly where to step your foot. And they got glow sticks in the water so you can see the rocks underneath. And yeah, that section was really, really special. But the next time I saw you guys was Pointed Rocks, which Makenzie, originally you were supposed to run with me on that section, run the last 6 miles. And I know you've been battling some knee stuff. So every time I got to see you at the aid station was still super special. But I think when I came in at that time, you know, I hadn't had anything. I think I had a couple bites of cantaloupe, like from the last time that I had seen you. But I think I grabbed another sparkling water at that point.
You did. Yeah. You were like super excited that they had that too.
Yeah.
You were, like pumped.
But for me, I was like, I smelled the finish line right there.
Yeah.
Like that was just.
Well, that was within that 10 miles at the end where you're like, you know what? I know I can make it. I'm just
like
gonna
5 miles, if that.
Well, yeah, but inside that, that last section of.
Because we're breaking up the race into 3 parts. Yeah. The last 10, it's like the last 10% of the race. Yeah. Like, I don't care if we're crawling. You're gonna make. We're gonna finish this thing. But it was so good to see your faces. What did you guys do between the river and Pointed Rocks? Did you guys ever have time to sleep, Makenzie? Did you guys?
Yeah, we drove to Pointed Rocks and we just like slept in the car.
How was that?
It was like an hour.
Yeah,
so it was nice.
Did you guys fall asleep right away?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, it was like an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah.
All said and done, we got a little bit of sleep in there, and
like overall, did you feel like it was like a long, dragging day, or did it go by fast?
It honestly went by pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of it was because she was hanging out with me. And
really?
She thought that was so fun. So it just went by so fast,
right? It did look like you guys were having a lot of fun.
We did.
You showed me some of the videos that you guys were making, the little vlogs that I know will never go public, but they were super hilarious. The father-daughter relationship you guys have is so sweet and funny.
She's the best.
So, but every time I came in, I was like, okay, they're both like smiling, like they're having so much fun together.
Yeah.
Oh, it was. Yeah, we had so much fun. It was. I mean, yeah. The only thing that was a bummer was that every time we would go to see her, we would pack that big orange
bag. It looked like he was like hiking for like 2 weeks, and we were just going to like Rucky Chucky.
A huge bag, and then the bag that we would take. I mean, probably from Forest Hill on, like 62 all the way to the end.
We just didn't touch it.
Yeah, she didn't even touch it.
Yeah.
We would like lug this bag like miles to the aid station.
What are you talking about?
She wouldn't even grab stuff.
What are you talking about?
Jeez.
That's not like me.
Hey, we were prepped and we were ready though.
We were.
Just in case she needed that one thing in our bag, we had it.
Yeah.
We had pretty much everything in that bag.
We did.
I hooked you guys up and found these very tiny pop-up chairs.
Those were good. Yes.
Yeah.
That you could easily assemble and fit into that bag. Did you guys use those chairs? Was that nice having those?
Yeah, we use those every aid station.
Yeah.
Game
except
changer.
for the last one, but those are good. Those are money.
Then it was the homecoming. It was time to pop up.
The home stretch.
Yeah, go run towards Roby Point where we ran on into the neighborhood, and I just could not wait to see your face, Makenzie, because so often in my training, I would always envision running the track with you. And the track is just so special. Makenzie, you have so many memories on the track. Just that's what you do also. But it just like, it symbolized the finish. It symbolized, just the long journey. And I love that it ended in a way that's so familiar to you and in a way that you love too. And pretty emotional making that final left turn over the, from the White Bridge. There's 22 bridges in Western States. That's the final one. As I ran down the road, there was Makenzie waiting for me. I could see her cut up yellow. She cropped one of the Nike yellow tie-dye shirts that they had made our crew. It was so cute. And then she had on the yellow hat, just like me.
Yeah.
And Nick, the class act that he is, being a father himself, slowly disappeared. I didn't see him till
Mhm.
like, after I finished, but I think Nick knew how special that moment was going to be for me. So he kind of slipped out, and then Makenzie and I ran that final 300 meters together.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was that for you, Kenz?
It was like super special. I was like looking forward to that like moment in the race the entire time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I loved that.
Yeah, I loved it too.
Mm-hmm.
And we exchanged some sweet, memorable words right before crossing the finish line, which of course made us both emotional as we crossed, and we hugged. And the journey of 100 miles, as Billy chronicled one time in one of his movies, Life in a Day, it really was that for me. It was like 10-year journey from the first time I did Western States. Now the fourth time I've done it, 10 years later, but just knowing that the year that I signed with Nike and, won my golden ticket, placed top 10 at Western States, that was the year Makenzie started her journey. And I know, Makenzie, you've been building toward your dreams and your running goals right alongside me. And I think that one of the things I really loved during the race was like, whether I was in a low or a high or moving along, was that you always just like understood. You understood how it felt. You understood where I was coming from. And I think that's something that I've always really cherished about this journey with you, watching you from a little girl and now a woman moving on to your, to your dreams at NAU. And it's just wild that it's been 10 years, but I'll tell you what, sweetheart, that's a day that I'll never, ever, ever forget.
Me too.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you for being there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Ed, you did not get enough credit. I'll just say that straight up. There's a lot of focus on Makenzie and just that special mom-daughter like story that was going on. But as always, you were just the supreme crew chief. I so appreciate you. And it was so nice to know that no matter what was going on out there, I could always depend on you. I knew just seeing your face was always like so calming and comforting. And it just made me so happy. I've always admired your relationship with Makenzie, but it just made me so happy that you guys were building memories. And I think this is something that you and I talked about on our walk the other day, was how this will be a day in both of your lives that you will never forget. Like, even when you're a mama yourself, Makenzie, you're going to like remember crewing with your dad for your mom. And I know for Dad and I, like, one of the greatest joys that we have had in being your parents is creating memories with you. Like, we've tried to be very specific about, we would much rather spend money on adventuring and doing cool stuff, traveling to places, than buying you more toys or buying you more clothes, right? Because the memories last, and those moments, those are what stick out, like, you're not still playing with your baby dolls from when you were 4, but you're definitely going to remember moments like this, and they're going to carry on with you. And I know for you too, Ed, you still don't want to talk about that Makenzie's moving to college in 5 weeks,
Nope.
but but I do know this. We had the raddest crew. We had the BPN crew. Shout out to Trey Freeman, Steven, Landry, Lily, Sarah, and Tyler, that all had cameras.
Yeah.
And over the course of this past week, all their edits have been flooding our inboxes. And I am so grateful that we have so many beautiful pictures from this race. Yeah. And there's a lot with you guys. There's a lot with us individually. And I just feel like there's a beautiful scrapbook that was made. So
definitely.
Yeah. So to our listeners, I just want to thank you so much for getting to the end of this podcast. I don't know if there's anything else race related that you wanted to add, or something cool about the race just as a whole that stuck out to you.
No, just like you just mentioned, the finish with you and Makenzie, and seeing you guys cross the finish line and hug. It was just a special moment, obviously for you two, but for me, you know, looking at you guys, I think that post that you said about passing the baton, it was a special moment, right? Like at that time, and just so grateful to be there to witness that. And you know, obviously I'm proud of you to push through what you pushed through to, you know, and going through what you did on hardly eating anything and still able to cross the finish line. Not obviously the time you wanted, but you were able to still do it. And you know, I know that's not like your best finish, like you said, in terms of how much time you committed to the race and prepping and stuff, but proud of you for, you know, sticking it out and making it happen and getting to the finish line and telling a story like you wanted to. And then obviously having Makenzie there, and Makenzie, proud of you for crewing mom and being there with me to laugh and make memories, and then also to cross the finish line too. And as you go on to NAU, it's, you know, it's a cool moment and obviously our family, but then just at the race to get all those pictures of it and video of it. And so I didn't really have anything to add in terms of the race, but that was a special moment for me also.
Yeah, it really was. And I think, you know, for our listeners, just pointing this out, I really wanted this to come through in the podcast today, that all of us, regardless of the way we size ourselves up, oh, I'm a back of a pack or a middle pack or elite, or, you know, it really doesn't matter how long we've been running, what our pace is, fitness level is. Our minds are such a gift. You know, they really are. They are a gift. They're powerful, and what they're capable of doing is endless. And, you know, that's been a big part of my career, is learning that. You know, what I know now, I didn't know 10 years ago. And, you know, I had to learn a lot of lessons in this sport in the beginning. I had a lot of fears and things that stressed me out, and, you know, didn't always have like the greatest confidence. But the more time you put into something, the more work that you put in those reps, and telling yourself like, it's okay to fail, because the failure is the lesson. That's how I get better. Man, I'll tell you what, Western States, every mile, I had so many tools to pull from. You know, this wasn't a dragging, horrific race for me. It was memorable. It was beautiful. I saw the blessings in it. I got to meet incredible people. There was a lot of spectators out there that went out of their way, took time out of their day to really bless me. And I just kept on counting all the positives and all the gifts, you know, along the way. But as I thought about what I wanted to say on the podcast, I was like, this is something we can all do. You know, this is something that it doesn't require a college degree. It doesn't require a certain fitness level. The power of the mind is what we choose to focus on. It's what we choose to look for. And we can always look for the good, for the better, for the lesson, for how to grow. And just the gift of the ability that we have to move. So for those of you that are still running, you're still training, you're still racing right now as we are speaking, I just want to encourage you in that, you know, put that that message in your pocket so you can use it for later. But just remember that, you know, movement's such a gift. You're so much stronger than you think you are. And every time you choose to work through a difficulty, you become stronger and you prove to yourself what you're capable of. And what ends up happening is the more you do that, you're able to push yourself harder and further than you've ever dreamed of going. And, you know, what we did at Western States this past Saturday, you know, 10 years ago, I don't think I would have been able to do that. But you know, it's through a lot of failure and setback that I was able to do that. I was able to look at it and say like, oh, I'm getting to the finish line no matter what, because I've been here before. So we're going to be okay. And we're going to make this an incredible experience. So very grateful for the good that came out of it. And listeners, Eddie, Makenzie, and I are so grateful for you. We're grateful for the community. Oh, I did want to say to the girl that attempted with her daughter to come and find us at the expo, we were a little like disoriented trying to find the entrance to the expo. And I think this mom and her daughter were waiting to talk to us. And then they kind of like ran off because I think they saw that we were all talking amongst ourselves. And I told you, Eddie, I was like, go and find her. Go run her down. I felt so terrible. I didn't get and her daughter was young. So if that's you, please reach out to Eddie because we want to connect with you. But all else aside, little tangent there. We just want you to know, listeners, that we love you. We are cheering for you. We are so grateful for you. And we want to encourage you to keep choosing strong in all you do.